Greetings and welcome to Hexed Encountered. I'm Joe. In this video, we will be taking a gameplay look at the game Fire and Sword, Battles for Hungary, 1944. It is a Panzer Grenadier game from Avalanche Press and is designed by Philippe Leonard. And we will be doing the very first scenario in the game from Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is called South of Budapest. And this takes place in October, late October of 1944. And scenario 1 is titled Drive on Kecskemét from 29th of October, 1944. This is south of Budapest. It's a small city sitting astride a crossroads, on the way to Budapest. And this is the Soviet 46th Army attacking with the 4th and 6th Guards mechanized brigades, reinforced by the 25th Guards Tank Regiment. And this is, as I said, the 29th of October, 1944. The game starts at 1700. This game features 15-minute turns. There are 16 turns, so you do the math. That's 4 hours. And 1700 plus 4 is 2100. So some of this will be played at night, which reduces visibility to just 2 hexes. And the other special rules for this one are that the Hungarian initiative level is lowered by 1 for every 3 steps lost, with tanks counting double. And the Soviet initiative level is lowered by 1 for every 4 steps lost, with tanks counting double, and for neither side do wagons or trucks count. The victory conditions for the Soviet player: he has 3 objectives. More Hungarian than Soviet steps have been eliminated by the end of play, counting tanks double with trucks and wagons not counting. All hexes of the north-south road are Soviet-controlled at the end of play. And all town hexes on boards 50 and 54 are Soviet-controlled at the end of play. Soviet major victory will be to achieve all objectives. A minor victory is to achieve 2 of the objectives. The Hungarians will win a minor victory by holding the Soviets to only 1 objective, and a major victory for the Hungarians entails allowing the Soviets to achieve none of their objectives. So we are looking at the 8th Reserve Infantry Division, reinforced elements of this division for the Hungarian side. And on their initiative is 2, the morale is 7-6. They do not have any off-board artillery. On the Soviet side, you have elements of the 2nd Guards Mechanized Corps, and they have an initiative of 3, morale of 8/6, and they do have 1 off-board artillery attack, 18 firepower. All right, so we're going to get started here. So what you're looking at right now is the northern edge, which is map 50. This particular scenario uses 50, 54, and 53. That's running basically north to south. So this is map 50. Right here is the top of 54. So you can see the top. This is the topmost or northmost portion of the Hungarian line. You can have dug in units here, which I do. That is a large artillery piece. I think it is 100 millimeters. So you can see it's got some nasty firepower to it. They are dug in. Then we have some officers here. These are the equivalent of lieutenants from the Hungarian army, and they are stacked with, this guy is with a engineer unit inside a town. This guy is with an infantry unit and a heavy machine gun inside, or not in a town. They should be dug in as well. So let me drop a dug in marker on them as well. Then we've got some engineers up here in the forest. And you have 2 bridges here over the river. And let me adjust the shot and we'll show the next part of the Hungarian deployment. Okay, so here we have some wagons. Essentially, I've set up the units for defense, and these wagons are here basically to pull back if we need to, which I'm assuming the Hungarians will need to retreat. Over here we have another field piece. Then we have an officer here. He is with an infantry unit. And we have some militia here. We have some infantry here with I think it's a tweezer skills. Yeah, that's an anti-tank gun, the anti-tank weapons, sort of like a Panzerfaust. Here we have a little bit of armor. And then we have a dug-in officer here with, and that's a major equivalent, I believe. He's stacked with some infantry and a 75 millimeter gun, which is a pretty decent anti-tank gun as well. We have some infantry in the forest. We have another officer here also, and that's a captain also in the forest with infantry and a machine gun. Then we have town over here, which I already showed you, and I'm showing you again for some reason. Then we have another infantry here, and this guy here is basically a lieutenant equivalent. He's got an infantry platoon there. And then up here on the hill, we have an ensign. So this is kind of a lower rank. And then they also have an infantry platoon up on the hill. I could have put a gun maybe up there. I chose not to. I do want to be able to pull them back. So the Hungarians are limited to 54 and 50, which was to the north, and I already showed. Now we'll show what the Soviet initial deployment is here. Okay, so here are our Soviet forces. You can see they stretch from east to west, mostly along this line. They were required to deploy on map 53, which is this map, no further than hex row 7 rows from the edge. So these are their officers. These are all guard units, even these guys here, which are typically Red Army, regular Red Army. They're considered guards in this scenario. And there is one counter that was not in the counter mix, and I believe you can print it, but I don't really, I mean, I could print it, but I don't really have any skill at doing, homegrown, do-it-yourself counters. Not my particular skill set. So here we have a stack of we have here infantry and a machine gun and some engineers over here, and they are with a lieutenant. Then we have a couple of tanks here. These are T-34 85s, so good firepower there. And then over here we have a couple of tanks as well. These are Su-122s. Here we have a lieutenant with a truck, and inside the truck is a mortar crew. And here we have some more armor. We have a stack of 3 more Su-122s. We have a limbered gun here so that it can move and deploy later on. And we have another officer here. This one is another lieutenant, I believe. Yep. He's got a truck and an infantry squad. And then we have some M3s here that are carrying infantry as well. We have another officer here. He's a captain. He's in a truck with an infantry squad. Back here we have a truck with another mortar. I keep saying squad. It's platoons. This is a platoon level game. So when I say squad, I really mean platoon. It's just a force of habit, I guess, to say squad. This is a platoon level game. So we have another leader here. This is the another lieutenant. Our major is right here, so he's the commanding officer. Now, if you're not familiar with the way this game works, your leaders activate units that are in their hex and the 6 surrounding hexes. So this major here, because he outranks the lieutenants on either side of him, he could chain activate the 2 officers with him, and then on any of the other units around. And then this guy could chain, with his being chained or activated by his commanding officer, can then activate this gun because it is adjacent to him. The tanks, all the tank units have inherent leaders because we're after 1943. Before 43, the Soviet units don't have inherent tank leaders. In this case, they do. We have a couple recon units, one here and one here. You can tell they're recon, or, well, you can look at them and figure it out. But you see the 10 up there in the upper right corner, that's their movement factor. So they have the best range of any of the Soviet units, and they will push forward and hope not to encounter anything with some teeth on the Hungarian side. Then we have some more units over here, some armor, another reconnaissance unit, That's an Su-22. I think these are T-34s. Yes, a couple more T-34s there. So we got a couple T-34s and a couple Su-122s. We have, this is a submachine gun equipped platoon, and then an engineer platoon here. So that kind of covers it. So initiative, we roll for initiative. Both sides roll one six-sided die, and we add their initiative rating, which is 3 for the Soviets and 2 for the Hungarians, to determine who has initiative here in the first turn. Okay, we're going to use a red and blue die here. The red will be for the Soviets, the blue for the Hungarians. And it's 5-3, so that gives the Hungarians a 7 and the Soviets a 6. So the Hungarians win initiative. And so they can activate any of their leaders that they wish. Now, given the time of day at 1700, so according to the scenario rules, this game starts in the dark, basically. So it's 1700, but it's considered night. It is the end of October, which makes sense. Days are getting pretty short, obviously. So what we're going to have here is a situation where the Hungarians are actually going to pass, because your nighttime visibility is 2 hexes, so they cannot see the Soviets. The Soviets can't see them either, but the Hungarians are on the defensive and not looking to move. So what we'll do is we'll activate some of the Soviet units and let them take the first move. So as I mentioned, our major here can activate himself and anyone within the 6 hexes around him. So that means he can activate these 2 lieutenants with their stacks, the recon car up here, and this truck, or M3 rather, back here. The captain here will have to take and he's a little bit, the plexi moves a little bit, or yeah, it moves a little bit, or moved a little bit, and kind of disoriented my stuff and my hexes here a little bit. So he's going to activate his guys, and this guy here will move first. Okay, now keep in mind our line of sight is 2 hexes. It's got a movement rate of 10. He is on the road. Now, road has a movement cost for motorized or mechanized. So that would be 2/3. So 2 points for every 3 hexes. So he could go 1, 2, 3. That would be 2. 4, 5, 6 would be 3. And then he can move up. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3. That's 2 points. 1, 2, 3. That's 4. Sorry, 2 points and 2 points. That's 4. Now look, 1, 2, 3. If he moves 1 more, he'll still be 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3. But if he moves 2, now he's in range of both of these units. Now both of these units are also infantry units. Okay, so we have a leader, and there's an infantry underneath him and another infantry here. Because as a leader, they can combine fire, which gives them an 8. He would add his 1 combat to it, because this number in the lower left is a 1. That is his combat factor, so it would be a 9. But there is no 9 on the direct fire table. So we look here, you can see you have a 7. So you can see that there's not a whole lot of big damage you can do here. If you roll snake eyes, you do get an X, which is a step loss. So let's roll the dice here. And we got a 4. There were no modifiers, by the way. So M1. So that forces them to take a morale check. Now, if this was a closed top armored unit, which it's not, it's basically a car, they wouldn't have to take the morale check. But they do have to take a morale check. Now, the Soviet morale is 8. So we roll 2 dice, and they're going to add 1 to the dice roll check. So they need less than a 9, or they need a 7 or less. And they got it. So they passed the morale check. So we simply put moved fired on these two, or really fired. Doesn't matter, it just means they're done. So, and he is also done. And now we will move back so that we can do some more movement by the Soviets. Actually, it is the Hungarians' turn. You alternate activations, and they didn't win activation by enough to get extra moves at the beginning. So what happens now is they're going to pass again, because again, they're on the defensive right now. They don't want to necessarily be taking actions. They're reacting basically, so they are on the defense, as you might guess. So we are going to change the camera here to show the Soviets, and then they'll move up again. So again, the major here activated himself, so we're going to use his movement. He's got an 8 because he's also in this M3 with the infantry squad. So they're going to move up as well. And this is a motorized unit, so it's actually half. So they would move 2 for 1. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're going to stop right here. They're actually out of range of the enemy. So they're just moving up to their recon unit, and they will get a move and fired. Now, again, I know you can't see that, so I am going to broaden out the shot here. Okay, just for now, we'll just go with a little bit of a broader shot so you can see more of the board for movement. We'll take our lieutenant here, and he's going to move up as well. So he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then he will move up here. And now he's in range of them as well. But they can't fire at him right now because they've already fired. I don't think they're eligible for 2 opportunity fires. So again, we're just going to sit tight as the Romanians, or the Hungarians rather, wrong Axis minor ally, who had actually jumped ship and joined the Soviets here by this time. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we'll slide over here. And we'll put a move marker. And our last one here, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, he's just moving here. He's got the movement allowance. I'm not going to count it out because I was counting it correctly anyway. Now, our captain here, actually the gun can move as well. His movement is only a 1, however, but he is on the road. So I believe he can move 1 hex. And he's going to stay limbered. And I will put a moved marker on that. And again, the Hungarians are going to pass here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pause for time's sake. And I'm going to move the units up. And then if any firing happens, we'll stop, obviously, to do that. And I'll show it. But this way, you don't have to watch me just moving units up, because right now the Soviets are moving to contact, essentially. So we're just going to take a pause here. Okay, so now you see the situation here at the end of turn 1, essentially, at least as far as the Soviets go. So you can see we've got basically 3 areas. We've got the main force coming up the road, essentially coming up the road, and then we've got kind of some armored units and some recon on the right flank, and some armored units and a little bit of infantry. There's some infantry on the right as well. So basically we got a little bit of a mixed formation, mixed force on each flank coming up left and right side. Obviously the right flank will try to take out that unit on the hill. The left flank is going to come up and attack the units that are up in that cluster that you can't see at the moment, but there's a cluster of woods. The Hungarians have some fairly solid defense up there, including a couple tanks of their own. So that will be coming up here in turn 2. Okay, here we are. Next turn, start of turn 2, 17-15. This artillery unit here, which is a what is this? I have to look. That's a 37 millimeter, I think. I had moved it, and it needs to be towed or pushed or pulled by a foot unit or towed by a vehicle. So what I'm going to do is I have a truck up here. We're going to drop these guys off, and we will come back and get this and drag it forward. So for now, he's back where he was, and he's still limbered. So okay, and so let's roll for initiative right there. And it's a 5, so the Soviets are ahead by 3, which becomes 4. So they're going to get 2 activations before the Hungarians get 1, which is fine because, again, the Hungarians are on defense. The only thing would be, like, these guys could possibly attack that guy or maybe pull back or something along those lines. All right, so the Soviets, as I mentioned, get to go first. Their major is right here. So let's see, what do we want to do first? So the terrain effects here, this is a field, right? Or he could just go up the road. This is interesting. What do we have here? We have a truck and an infantry squad, or an M3 rather. So we could have these guys fire. He's got a 1 combat as well. So we could have these guys fire on these guys here in the woods. So let's do that. Okay, so after a little further review, I've decided that what we're going to do is unload. So these guys will be unloaded, and they are not allowed to move after unloading. But the transport can. Okay, now what I could do is I could keep them here for, like, using his firepower to attack them next turn. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send him back. So he uses up 1 movement point by unloading here. And now he's going to go on to this road hex. So that costs 1.5 to get there. And then he's going to get on the road, he would get, what, 1.5? 2 out of 3, 2/3. Okay, so it's 1.5. Then he goes 2, 1, 2. That costs 3. That's 4.5. 1, 2. That's 7.5. So he has to stop right there. Now he's going down here to get this artillery unit. So these guys get a moved fired. Now we can continue our activation. So these guys are on a truck or an M3 as well. So they're also going to unload. We will keep the M3 here for fire support in the next turn. So I'm just going to put that there. As far as our recon unit goes, let's move him up. We're just going to move him up here. Now he's moving into a field, which will give him a little bit of special, it'll give him a little bit of a defensive bonus. So I'm going to put a moved fired on here as well. Now he would have the ability to attack there, perhaps. All right, so this guy will also drop off his infantry unit. He may just go back as well, which means I maybe should have left him there. So that would be 2. No, 1, 3. No, 1, 4, 7. So he would be here as well. So we'll just put them together right there. And then this guy is moved fired. Now we can activate his unit. And I think in this case, we'll actually keep them we'll keep them mounted. And they would go clear for this guy is 1.5. So that would be 3, 6, 2, 3. He's still just out of range of that gun for spotting purposes. But maybe we'll just go 1.5, and then into the fields would cost 3. That would be 4.5. Can actually go here, 7.5. So he'll stop there. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's put him here. All right. Now this guy can activate as well, and his activation would also entail this one. He will go, let's go off-road. So we'll go here. So that is 1.5, 3, 4.5, 6. Oh, they're in a truck. They're in a truck. That's interesting. All right, so up here, he's got a 1 as well, but that's going to leave them with very little firepower for an attack here. The most they could get is a morale check if they attack them, so I think we'll just hold off on firing for now. Drop that on there. All right, now this guy was also activated, so he's going to join his friend over here, I think. So 1, 2.5, 4, 5.5. Oh, that's a mortar crew. Okay. Well, what we'll do here is we'll unload. And these guys could attack them. They're not going to. Because we could combine fire here and then attack this guy. That's literally the only one they could both attack is this guy. All right. And then we would go over to the Hungarians. Now, they're going to shoot at this truck here. Since they didn't unload, so our direct fire chart in terms of modifiers, okay, so we're not, the target is not entrenched, they're not in woods, they're in clear terrain. None of these are, target hex is not on a higher elevation, so none of those apply. No, due to night. Okay, so they're going to get a -1 because it's night, and I forgot that before. No. Not opportunity fire. No. Okay, so we just get a -1. This probably won't do anything, but we'll take a crack at it anyway. We're on the 4 column, actually. So let's do this. And we got a 2. That is the best you can get. And they get a -1. And that's a column modifier. So the 4 becomes a 2, but a 2 is an M1. So they're going to roll their morale check here. Now they do get a bonus, I think, from the leader. Nope, he's got a 0, so no bonus. So they still need to roll basically a 7 or less. And look what they got, a 7. All right. So that takes care of this guy. Whoops. Butterfingers. All right. And he's a solo act, so We're going to go back to the Soviets here. Now, the tanks have their own leaders, so they're going to go, let me check. His movement factor is an 8. He's going to go, he's mechanized, so that would be 1.5 to there, but now we're moving uphill slope, +1, and it is rocky. So he's at 1.5, giving him 6.5 left. Rocky costs 4, so it would cost 5. So he can move. Well, actually, Rocky just costs 4. He's not on the slope yet. At least I think that's Rocky. It looks rocky. Yeah, we're just going to say that that's rocky terrain. He actually would have been better off to climb that slope, I guess. So they're both here. 4 plus the 1.5 is a 5.5, but they don't have enough to cross the next hex side, although that is, I think, clear. But that would still be crossing the slope is +1 and clear is 1.5. That would be 2.5. They've already, oh, that would be 8. Would be 8. They can also fire at them now, I believe, but we're going to go up. We're going to save that for next turn. So we'll activate, they get activated next. I still don't think there's anything they want to do right now. They have good, they're in as good of a defensive terrain as they can be, I think. Unless I wanted to activate this tank up here. What we have here. Maybe we should do that. Yeah, let's do that. Although, yeah, we're not going to do that. We're going to save him for the defense here. So they'll pass, and that means the Soviets go again. We'll activate this guy over here, and we'll start by sending our recon unit. So he is a motorized, and in clear it costs him 2. Go 2, 4, 6, 8. Crossing that is going to be fun. Well, through the fields costs him 4. He was here. We go 4, 8. We could go 2, 6, 10. We'll do that. And our captain, he is on foot. They've got a movement factor of only 2. To go into the fields on foot costs 1.5, so they'll just do that. So they're kind of moving slowly here. Now we got some tanks here. They'll do their own thing, but we've got these guys right here. They have a 3. They want to stay next or near their leader, so they would go here for 1.5. And then there's 2 units there already, so they'll go here. And these 2 are both done now. These guys into the fields cost them 3, so they could go 2, 1, 2. And they're done. Now these tanks here, they have the 2 Su-122s have a, oh no, what are these? I have a hard time reading this, to be honest. Come on. JSUs. Okay, well, that was difficult for me to read. So they have a movement factor of 7, and on the road, that costs them 2 for every 3 hexes. If they go off-road onto the clear, that costs them 1. Road, clear rather, 1.5. So let's do, that would be 2/3. I'm not even going to try to count this the right way. That's 3. So 3 and 2/3. Right? Yeah, that's 3. That's 6. 6 and 2/3 would put them there. So they'll stick there. Put that on there. This guy has a movement factor of 8. So he can go the same way that they went. But he'll stop here, I think. Just drop that on there. Okay. Now, again, I'm assuming, or I'm deciding for the Hungarians to not move up. These guys are 8s. So 3, 6, 7.5, and they are just out of range of the gun. Put that there. And these guys are 7 and 8. So 3, 6, 7.5. And then these guys are on foot, and they have a movement factor of 3. So they could go upslope. I'm not sure if that really buys them anything though. So on clear, it costs them 1. So they can go 1, 2, 3. These guys can do the same thing, except they're in a truck, so they can actually go a little further probably. They have a movement factor of 8. And in the clear, that costs them, they're on a truck, right? Yep, 2. So 2, 4, 6, 8. And that is everybody. This guy's waiting for his tow, which will come next turn. So that is the end of turn 2. And I know nothing exciting or interesting particularly has happened yet. But I'm going to actually stop the video here, and we will pick up turn 3, the 1730 turn, in the next video, which I will try to turn around as quickly as possible. Trying to keep the videos relatively short. I know some of you don't care, but looking at the statistics, the analytics that I get from YouTube, it definitely, shorter is definitely better for the majority of people, it seems like. Anyway, that will do it. My name's Joe. This is Hexed Encountered. Until next time, I'm going to sign off now. And as always, I wish you all happy gaming.